We're going to continue our looking at Christmas season, the birth of Christ, with the beginning of the actual birth of Christ, not just the things leading up to it, in Luke chapter 2. Today we're going to look at verse 1. In Luke chapter 2, verse 1, God says, "And it came to pass in those days, there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed." This fella, Caesar Augustus, is, to me, an interesting fella because his given name was neither Caesar nor Augustus. He was adopted by his great uncle, Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is the one that extended the Roman Empire all the way up into Britain and Parthia and northern Africa, and he was the first world ruler. But his adoptive son, that would be Caius Octavius was his name, he became the first emperor, and he took the name of Caesar, his great uncle's name, Julius Caesar, Caesar Augustus. Now, the way he got the name Augustus was it was actually given to him by the Senate, and it was a title. It wasn't really his last name. It was a title, and because he didn't want to be called a king, or he didn't want to be called a dictator because that might be temporary, he wanted something that showed that his office was conferred upon him by God, and eventually he would proclaim himself to be God. Remember Jesus, when he asked for the superscription, the coin, that he said that whose image or superscription is this? And they said Caesar's. The superscription on it was that Caesar is God. Now that was a different Caesar, because the name Caesar continued on for the hundreds of years after he had taken it from Julius Caesar. And the Augustus, he came from the word augur, which was a religious, like a prophet or a authority. And so it was showing that he was of religious significance. And this man, the first emperor of Rome, commanded everyone in the whole Roman world, from Britain all the way down to Babylon, northern Africa, all around the Mediterranean Sea, all of Europe, that they all had to pay a tax, and this was the first enrollment for that tax. And this tax, the enrollment actually started, or the decree actually went out in 8 BC, and everyone had to go and register for the taxes, even if they were expecting, if they were poor, if they were insignificant. In fact, there was a little couple over in Israel that had to go and be taxed or registered to tax, named Mary and Joseph. And Mary and Joseph she was great with child, and we'll find out about that later. But he had no idea they even existed. In fact, Herod the Great, who was over them, had no idea they even existed. And Cyrenius, who was the general that was over the taxing at that time, he was the governor of the taxing, a Roman general for 2 years, to oversee that taxing. He had no clue that there was a Mary and Joseph in the works here. But yet, everyone in the whole world, Roman world, without exception, had to go and register to be taxed. I guess this guy thought he was really something, because he could command everyone in the whole world, right? But his decree was insignificant compared to a decree that had been made little over 700 years earlier by God himself. In Micah chapter 5 verse 2, where he said, "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel." That would be Jesus. because he is going to rule the world one of these days. And he was born. He would be born in Bethlehem. So his decree is that Messiah must be born in Bethlehem. And so he organized that they would be in Bethlehem because they were in Nazareth at the time. God organized that they would be in Bethlehem, where he had decreed that the Messiah would be from. He organized that by making a puppet of Caesar Augustus. And Caesar Augustus became the insignificant puppet that would carry out, he would be one little cog in the wheel that would carry out the decree that would cause Mary and Joseph to give birth to Jesus in Bethlehem. This is Dr. Jerry Lloyd, and we would love to have you like this, share it, and subscribe. Tomorrow if the Lord allows, soon we will be looking at verse 2. Thank you much.